Welcome back to another episode of the Wise Pelican podcast. I'm Celia Palermo alongside Geoff Lilienfeld and our special guest, Dylan Boudro. Dylan, how's it going?
Great, how are you?
Good, thanks for joining us. Dylan is one of our AI engineers on the team here at Wise Pelican. New member to the team, but already hitting the ground running. So happy to have you on board. I'm curious, give the listeners just a little bit of background on your role, what you do day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely hitting the ground running. We've been up to a lot with the new office, new computer systems coming online. So, yeah, on the day-to-day, I'm working on our various software at Wise Pelican. We're working on building a lot of AI automations to improve our productivity and refurbishing all of our technology to be up to date with what's now possible. So, lots of changes happening with the software.
Why is the work that Dylan and his team, why is it so important to what we're doing at Wise Pelican, especially as we look towards building in the future?
Yeah, so what Dylan's focused on is really cool. Essentially, there is obviously old school software development, which is writing out code by hand. Then there's kind of like AI assisted coding, and then there's vibe coding, and then there's what we're working on, Dylan in particular, which we are setting up an entire farm of virtual machines to do the vibe coding for us.
Wow.
So with the end goal being that someone at the user level could request features and it could mock up those features, and then we can approve it and push it all the way into production and automate the entire life cycle, which is certainly an ambitious goal. But one that we are working towards and we are making good progress in, and Dylan's moving that needle every day. And so when, he talks about like, oh, there's a lot going on or whatever, and I kind of giggle, it's because like every day is like, eons. There's no day that we finish and it's not like, holy shit, what happened today?
I feel like I walk past your desk and I just see, first of all, multiple screens. Lots of things that I don't know what they mean on the screen, but I just see you guys working so hard, and the conversations that I overhear you guys having, it's amazing, all of the things that we're working on. I'm curious, what got you into AI and software developing in particular? How'd you find this industry?
Yeah, it's software development. I had an interest ever since I was little. I used to have like a CRT monitor computer with no internet when I was little. That just got me into it early on. And I used to make a lot of graphics for games or websites when I was going through school. AI, I always worked with AI engineers. I think before a few years ago at startups you would have your dev team, maybe working on web applications and things like that. And then typically you would have the machine learning people who were, PhDs or master's students who kind of were in their own silo. They would do their machine learning AI research, and then recently, basically with the release of ChatGPT and large language models, it got democratized and moved into all elements of tech. And so when that started happening, for me, it was the image generation tools. I had spent, I got a degree in graphic design. I've been using Photoshop and things like that for 10, 15 years. So once I saw Stable Diffusion come out and you could just type a few words and it generates graphics, I'm like, this totally changes the game of what you can do visually with computers. So that was the moment for me where it was like, whoa, this is something different. I need to dive all the way in, figure out how to use this.
Geoff, you mentioned vibe coding. You mentioned a lot of different aspects of AI that we're involved in. What is vibe coding? Because it's a term that we use a lot around Wise Pelican in particular.
Yeah, so really vibe coding at the heart of it is utilizing AI to write software. Some people think of it as a dirty term because there's a lot of software engineers out there that are, it's becoming a smaller and smaller population, but that like don't want to give up on this concept that software has to be developed by coding by hand. And at this point in time, that is a concept seems so outrageous to me, but I still see, I'm like part of all these different Facebook groups, and I still see people like, I can't believe you guys think that AI can actually write software. And it's like, we're like writing a lot of software with AI.
Dylan, what's your take?
Yeah, I think it's pretty indisputable at this point, especially in the recent months. It's totally changed. Like if you tried it a year ago and you're like, okay, yeah, AI can write code, but it's not great. It gets it wrong a lot of the time. It makes dumb mistakes. But then you try it now and it's like, wait a second. It's right almost all the time if your code is set up a certain way. And at this point, there's just so many people in tech that are amazing coders. Like, it's not just people that have never coded before that are writing stuff, which some people that have never coded are making amazing things, that even developers...
He's talking about me, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, true. I mean, you're coding things that, you know, people that have been a full-time developer for 20 years maybe never even attempted. So it's like, but yeah, even some of the best engineers in the world, the guy that made Node.js, which is a huge JavaScript framework that a lot of the web runs on, is saying, I'm not writing code by hand anymore. Spotify just released an announcement that they aren't writing code by hand anymore. Their developers all using AI. So I think we're really at the point right now where inside of like the AI community, we're realizing, whoa, it's finally hitting that point where we can trust the large language models to control a lot of stuff that humans were doing.
How did you get into this, Geoff?
Before I answer that,
Yeah.
it's funny, back to what Dylan was saying. I was on LinkedIn last night scrolling through it, which I don't do super often. And I saw this post from somebody, it's, you know, whatever, XYZ enterprise-y company. And they're like, I can't believe it. I just looked, and last month, 76% of all the code we generated was AI assisted. And the first thing I thought is like, man, you have 24% of your development staff you need to fire immediately. Like, where is that other 24% of code coming from? Like, the idea that someone is sitting there like, do is like outrageous.
Archaic.
Yeah, I'm
Archaic.
like, what is happening there? So sorry, what was your question?
I'm curious how you, I mean, in our very first conversation on this podcast, we talked about how Wise Pelican isn't just a direct mail marketing company, it is a software company. I'm curious how you got into this side of the industry in terms of AI, software development, and just that interest, because I can tell it's something you're passionate about.
Yeah, so I have a technical background, but was never a coder. For me, I'm like, this whole thing with AI and LLMs is like this dream come true. It's wild. Like, it just fits into exactly who I am and what my skill set is. But, you know, I did enterprise IT stuff for a long time, designing systems and architecting, but never a coder. And then I actually was at a conference, maybe 8 months ago, or 10 months ago, I think. And it's when Lovable actually had just done this like big thing where it was like Lovable was free and they had this hackathon, and I'd never even heard of it. And at the conference, they were talking about like 500,000 apps were created over the weekend. Wow. And it was like, whoa. And then when I got back, I was like, I got to check this out. And then I learned about Bolt. And at the time, Bolt I thought was a little bit better than Lovable. And so I just started doing that. I was like, holy crap, like you can build stuff. Now, keeping in mind, at that point in time, these platforms, I think that's when they were still running on 3.5, on Sonnet 3.5, I want to say. And then it's like this progression that's happened. It's just absolutely wild. And so, yeah, I mean, really, it was like this thing that like for the last however long I've owned Wise Pelican, it's like, oh, we got to get our velocity up. We got to get our velocity up. And now it's like, oh, wow, there is actually a way to trade money for output. And there did not used to be. I was trying and hiring consultants and like everyone possible to come in and try to get our software organization to where we could develop software faster. And there was never anything that could get us there. And now there is this, you know, new world and possibility. So it's crazy.
How much does that impact our efficiency and when you think about the day-to-day of Wise Pelican?
I mean, it impacts it everywhere. Not only does it impact it from the ability that, you know, we can now create these tools faster and ship features faster and just have more fun doing it, but also it impacts our ability to do things that are pretty insane. Like you wouldn't have dreamt of it. Dylan was just talking about machine learning. One of our other team members that came on board at the same time as Dylan actually has an algorithm that he's developed for predicting which homes are going to sell at pretty much an insane confidence level. I don't even really want to say it because it sounds so ridiculous. But as of this morning, he had it tuned down to where he could look at the top 3,000 homes most likely to sell in Arizona and looking at
The
those
whole state?
3,000 predicted down to within 42%. So of the 3,000 predicted, 42% of them will actually sell.
Wow.
Which is completely game changing, because now that means that if you say I'm going to mail 3,000 postcards, that over 1,200 of those postcards are going to homes that are going to sell. So now it's not just a matter of, oh, okay, maybe 5%, 4% of those. It's like those homes are going to sell. So if you stay in front of those 1,200 people by staying in front of the 3,000, like those guys are going to sell their homes. And
Wow.
it kind of changes everything. It's like, okay, well now what? If I told you that, you talk to this person, there's a 1 in 3 chance that they're going to sell their home this year. What are you going to do? Will you call them? Well, yeah, I'd call them. It's like, well, here you go. Here's a list. 1 out of 3 of the people on this list are going to sell their homes, more than that.
So what factors go into creating a model that predicts this outcome?
Yeah, so this is where I'm going to say something pretty stupid, I'm sure, because I'm not a machine learning expert. But essentially the way that it works is you take a whole bunch of what's called features. And the features can be data that you have, right? So we have a whole bunch of data from the tax assessor files, and these different data sources that we purchase that we can look at to say, okay, what does somebody look like before they sell their home, before they list it? Things like the amount of equity they have in their home, all that type of stuff. And then we're also adding in other features from third-party data sources like the U.S. Census Bureau to help us understand areas and geographies, and then other external data sources as well. So essentially it's a matter of you look at what characteristics do homes generally have before the owners list them, and then you look for homes that match those characteristics.
Wow, this is huge. That's so exciting to hear about.
Yeah, it's very
what's
cool.
the next step? I mean, we have this model built. Now, how do we help our clients with this?
Yeah, so step number 1 is we're going to mail those homes in Arizona, and we're going to see how that goes, right?
Wow.
And get the numbers behind it, proof is in the pudding type of thing. And then step 2 is, going to market with it and letting other, real estate agents know that, hey, we have this exact system. We know the homes that are going to list. If you want in on this exact system, you can be that agent in, this market.
Dylan, tell me a little bit about the behind the scenes of building something like this. What goes into it from your perspective, hands-on?
Specifically about the model for the prediction?
Yes.
I would say that one key thing is, Wise Pelican being around for a while, we have a large amount of really valuable data that we already have organized, because it's a huge number crunch to take all the stats and figure out, okay, based on square footage, based on basically every possible variable, like square footage, the age of the owner, all of these things, and there's millions of properties and millions of features. So it's having all the right data, and then knowing, having our teammate Lucas that knows how to plug that in, train the model based on all of those statistics, and then calculate like the output that we can get. So I think behind the scenes, it's a lot of work of over years of crafting the right data and organizing it across our databases and across our systems to know how to work with it.
I want to translate some of this into real world, how we're helping our clients. I see a lot of back and forth of a client reports an issue and you get to the bottom of that. Tell me about that process and how we troubleshoot behind the scenes to make sure that our clients are having the best experience with our platform.
Yeah, so I think that goes back to earlier what we were talking about with this assembly line, and we call it power assembly. And you can almost think of it, it's almost like, when Ford invented the assembly line, or maybe when someone like Tesla started to create a robotic assembly line, so it just goes through the whole system by itself autonomously. That's essentially what we're doing with software development. So right now, typical flows at companies will be, maybe you have a little modal or an email, a customer submits a complaint or a feedback request, hey, I couldn't log in, whatever the issue is. It eventually gets to the internal team, maybe a customer support team that then goes to the development team. It's kind of a whole process to maybe eventually fix the update. But now what's possible with AI is we can make a system where as soon as our website has an error, the computer logs that error and then sends it to AI to immediately code the fix for that error and then make an update to fix the error. So we can have an automated system that's constantly improving itself, and that can go all the way from user experience on the website to feedback to integrating it into the site. So it's
Pretty
essentially,
wild.
yeah, it's kind of a cool flywheel where once you get it going, it can just really start building on itself and autonomously improve over time.
How much of a game changer is that for us, just in terms of client experience, being able to very quickly get to the bottom of challenges they may experience and knowing that this is getting better and better over time?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge from the bug aspect, but also from the, hey, we're seeing that we can make this easier for you.
Right.
That's the thing, is that now the web app is constantly evolving so that however it is that our end users want to use it, we can make it that so that, there's the number of clicks go down, right? The amount of time. Users don't want to spend a whole bunch of time creating direct mail campaigns or updating their databases. So it lets us just automate things more and more.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, a lot of realtors probably say, I'm hearing so much about AI. What does it mean for my business? From your perspective, what does it mean for the real estate industry in particular when it comes to agents?
Yeah, I mean, the real estate agent, like every industry, is going to see just all sorts of changes. And it is going to be a thing of you need to stay on top of it. The competition's about to get a lot tougher. You're going to have companies like Wise Pelican that are going to use machine learning more now to know who to market to. There's going to be an expectation that everyone's going to be more professional and able to do things like do analyses quicker for clients. That if someone says, "Hey, I'm interested in selling my home," that you're going to know how to use AI to create charts and graphs and say, "This is what all the other homes sold for. This is what you should expect. This is time on market." Right? People are going to expect to that next level. It's going to take a couple years for that to really come into play. But that's what's going to happen a little bit more gradually, if you will, right? Is that these expectations are just going to change.
Dylan, what makes you most excited about where AI and the AI community is headed in the next 2 to 5 years?
Maybe the fact that I can't even imagine what's going to happen in 2 or 5 years.
Or 2 months.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in AI don't even try to predict out that long because it can just surprise us. Maybe we think, like, for example, we thought maybe 6 months to a year ago there was a consideration that maybe we hit the limit on this new technology. Like ChatGPT was a big jump forward, and then we kind of got large language models, but maybe they only can do so much. But we've kind of found that, I would say, to not be true by just optimizing them, and they're so much more efficient now. So, I mean, I think on a grand scale of like the potential is huge. Sometimes I go into that kind of futuristic mode where I'm trying to think about how things could really be. But I do think that for sure there's a huge productivity increase that's probably going to affect, I would imagine, like the stock market and just how businesses are producing in general, but maybe even on a larger scale, like, Anthropic and I believe OpenAI have published papers about how this could affect the economy. Maybe jobs change, job descriptions change, just based on what we're able to do with this like increase in productivity. Maybe it could even lead to things in the future where maybe there's not as much need for human labor in the future, especially once we have physical robots too to do a lot of the tasks that for example, if Tesla makes their auto driving semi trucks, then that's a lot of human labor that could be automated through robotics. And I think that's going to come in a lot of different verticals over the next 5 years. And it might change. We might have to look and say, well, what's our purpose as humans if it's not working? So I think on a bigger scale, that could be a really like existential change that not just realtors or coders, but just like humanity has to face, that maybe society changes a lot once we take care of a lot of the human labor like limitations that we have now.
If I want to dig in and learn more about AI starting from zero, where do both of you suggest that I start?
Yeah, so I would say that the first thing, I think, like you were saying yesterday, I think the best way to learn is to just jump in and start using it. Even if you know, come up with a task that's, you're not like, I have to get this right. Just like more of an exploration, just chatting. I think just chatting with ChatGPT is probably how most people start. And then from there, you can kind of get a feel of, okay, how does it respond? What can I do in this chat? Just kind of try out different things. You maybe see some tools, like it uses a Google search, or it uses pulls data from Facebook, or whatever it is. Just get familiar with it, and then from there you can start to integrate it into more tools that you have. So maybe you pull your Gmail inbox in and say, look at these leads and find out which one are the best leads, and just connect more of your life into the flow of it. And then you can start to do the more advanced things that are like automations, where you don't have to go ask one question. You have systems that are constantly asking questions and giving you the answers, taking those answers, putting them in another system, and the next thing you know, you just have, while you're sleeping, all these different computations happening that are like adding digital assets or research and things like that to the software.
I think we have like everyone on our team using Lovable at this point.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say, go to Lovable. Build your first app on Lovable is the number one place to just dip your toe.
I think we'll start to wrap up here. I'm going to toss the question at both of you that I do every single episode. Dylan, you're a first timer, so you're going to go first. We put the wise in Wise Pelican. If you could offer a guiding principle of yours, a piece of sage wisdom that you've received in your career to our listeners at home, what would you share?
Let's see. I think with AI specifically, it's good to just try things out. What I was saying earlier, just jump in. Don't overthink it, or let, I don't know what this is, kind of stop you from doing it. I would say just try things out and just experiment. And with how fast things are moving, there's a real experimental mindset to AI. Even established tech companies are being a lot riskier with the level of experimentation they're taking. So just jump in and play around, and just have fun, seeing what you can come up with. Whether it's, I showed my dad when he came to visit, he's really into bike riding. So I just said, hey, Claude, find all the bike shops and all the bike trails within 10 miles of my house. So you can do it for anything, just have fun with it and play around, I would say, is the way to jump in.
Love it. Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say to piggyback off of what Dylan said, play around, but when you want to get something done and you're not getting the results that you want, don't just say, oh, AI can't do this, right? Play around, get to learn it, do all that, and then be tactical with it. So when you ask it to do something and it can't do it, take a step back and ask it, how could I prompt you better to do this? Or try another tool. Don't just immediately give up. And if you find that it can't, I got this one from the CTO of HubSpot. I saw him speak at their conference a few months ago. You probably know his name. I feel like you know all these guys. I don't remember, but he's like big in the AI world and the software world. But at any rate, he was saying, he's like, I literally put a meeting invite. I put something on my calendar anytime I have something that AI can't do to go back and check in a month. He's like, because it moves that fast. And it just reminds me to go back and see, oh, can it do this now? And if it can, he pushes it out another month.
Love that. Love that. Well, thank you guys both for your time. This has been a great conversation. So much to learn with AI. This is just the beginning and just the first of one of many conversations I'm sure we'll have on this podcast about this topic. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Wise Pelican podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, as well as all of our social media platforms, and Jeff's as well. A lot of exciting things coming down the pipeline. We'll see you on the next episode.